S. Brock here, and welcome to another episode of Abundant Living Talk Show. And I'm so excited to get right into this talk show today because with it being the start of the new year, what is more important than self-care? And that's what our topic is today, self-care. And I've brought in an expert. Shanon Williams is my guest today, and she is the CEO and founder of Self-Care Housekeeping. And we would be discussing self-care. So I'm going to read a little bit of her bio. And again, I'm excited to hear the tips that she has to give us. And we're going to learn some tips to take care of ourselves, not just this year, but in the years to come. So Shanon Williams is a Pittsburgh native and graduate of the University of Pittsburgh School of Social Work with a concentration in psychology. Her personal mission has been centered in healing since a young age, which has led her to hold positions as a behavioral health counselor for young women involved in the juvenile justice system and life skills instructor at a juvenile detention center. Shanon has a deep conviction for social justice and addresses the problems experienced in society by creating access to oppressed people by way of advocacy, trauma programming, collaboration, education, employment, financial support, and mentorship. She has done this by hosting a citywide care package drive for those without homes. She also hosted a workshop in literacy and finance, as well as how to navigate the social welfare system without becoming permanently dependent. She's also raised nearly $5,000 for an individual living in genetic disease. She created a barter and trade donate space, and this is just to name a few of her accomplishments. With her privately owned business, again, Self-Care Housekeeping, she hires and pays above minimum wage individuals who either have a difficult time securing long-term employment or are in need of immediate employment for short-term goals. So I'm going to stop right there because I can keep going on in her bio, but who better to tell us about Shanon than Shanon? Welcome to the show today, Shanon.
Hi, Tia. Thank you for having me.
Yes. I'm so excited to get into it, like I said. I want to hear about you and why you started your company.
Sure. And to clarify, the company that I hire people for is not self-care. It's actually my first business.
Okay.
It's a commercial cleaning company, and it's something that I have as a foundation, and I use it to hire people who cannot or choose to not work in traditional spaces or would like to have additional income, but it's important to pay above minimum wage because people tend to get taken advantage of in that particular field.
Definitely.
So self-care is a little different in that space.
Okay, well, tell us about, so you have two companies. My bad, Josh, you got two. See, I told y'all she's the CEO. So the company that you hire for is a cleaning company, and then Self-Care Housekeeping is a different entity from that company.
Yes.
Okay.
Self-care is a mental health home care service, centered around space, body, mind, all of those things. But how it got started, I've been an advocate for as long as I've been a professional. But the last 5 years of my life, up until this past June, I've been in gun violence prevention advocacy, and when you're in gun violence prevention, you hear about a lot of gun violence, and that tends to weigh on you. It got very, very difficult for me to share space with people. I was very uncomfortable to share space with victims of gun violence because it's a lot to carry on. That on top of working with kids and young adults, hearing their stories, taking on their trauma, dealing with my own life, my own trauma, being targeted myself, and having to work through all of those things. I got very, very depressed. And in that, I was engaged about 5 years ago now. And so when that ended, it was a space, it was a time, which was very difficult. And after it was all said and done, and everything should have been back to normal, I was still depressed, and I didn't know why I was still depressed. And usual Black women form, I didn't even think about mental health. I worked in mental health, didn't even think about mental health. What I did think about was I had a thyroid issue. It has to be a hormonal thing. And so I went to see my PCP. She ran all the tests, and she said, "No, you're perfectly fine medically, but I'm going to refer you to a psychiatrist." And so I sought out my therapist first. And it was very important that I looked for a therapist that shared my language, shared my culture, at least had an understanding of my culture, because I know what it looks like when someone is misdiagnosed, when someone's not taken seriously, when their verbal cues are not picked up on, when we just don't share language. That could be a very harmful space, especially when you're talking about someone's mental health and medical health. So I found a therapist with Stevens, who's amazing. And, we discussed like what my concerns were, and, we got into thinking about like, well, if this is a mental health issue, then what does this look like for you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to take pills, so I was kind of like nervous about that whole process if it was necessary for me to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was researching, with psychotropic drugs, like the risk and all the things, and what came up was bipolar depression, which I've never heard that term before.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked into it, and I was reading the symptoms of bipolar depression, and one of them was that people with bipolar disorder tend to talk really fast. I talk really, really, really fast. If I'm not thinking about it, I'm going. And I'm going. I was like, that might be me. And so, I talked to my therapist about it, and eventually went to see a psychiatrist and found out that I do have bipolar disorder, or I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Unspecified, so I took the line a little bit, but sometimes I'm really happy, sometimes I'm depressed, and that's just life.
Mm-hmm.
But things can trigger me and make it worse. And when the things get worse, like the concern is that it can get really, really bad. So like I have to be very cognizant of what's going on in my life. And so after finding that out about, I want to say 4 years ago now, and then dealing with the stuff with working with the company that I did with gun violence prevention, dealing with being targeted by a bunch of people, doing all of these things, I got really, really depressed, and it was just bad. I couldn't keep my space up. My house was a mess, and I couldn't do it. It was like
I understand.
And I was like looking at dishes piling up, and I could not. Like I knew I needed to do them, and I knew that there was a way to do them, and I knew how to do them, but I couldn't do it. A good friend of mine, before I got diagnosed, said that he's also diagnosed. And he said one of the things that he does is he checks his space, because that's how he knows where he is. And so after I was diagnosed, I started checking my space and where that is. And so figuring out that I'm depressed and my home is not together, I was looking for some sort of support in that space. And there wasn't any. Like there's no service that exists that helps you with that particular type of mental health.
Definitely.
So now there is.
And you created it. But I think that that's important, and you said so much with, telling us what you went through, because a lot of people aren't willing to be transparent. You say, especially in the Black community, especially as a female, I'm depressed. Oh, girl, get over it. Especially when you're in the church. Oh, no, that's the devil. Mm-hmm. And we just, push things aside and we sweep things under the rug, because it's like, no, you don't get depressed. You keep moving. And no, that doesn't happen. And if you're depressed, that must mean you're crazy.
Right.
But it's important, like you mentioned, to seek out that help. Mm-hmm. To seek out a counselor, a therapist, a coach, somebody that's going to be able to help you through that time and properly diagnose you. We have a lot of people walking around who do not have the proper diagnosis, so therefore they're not taking the proper medicine, and we know how that sometimes ends up.
And also, when we struggle with something like your space, like not being able to keep up your home, we learn how to clean and cook and do all those things at very young ages, right? And especially as women, when we cannot do those things on our own, like there's a feeling of guilt, shame, people blame you for it, and so when people come to your space and your home, and it's not put together, and it's like, oh, what's wrong with her? Oh, what's wrong with you? You need to get your life together. You got kids, you got this, you got that. People see you moving and shaking on the outside, and then they see your home, it's like these things don't match, but when they see your home, they don't see that you're going through things, and that's a real space. But when you don't have language for it, again, like you tend to internalize it, and now it's like, I'm bad, I'm wrong, there's something wrong with me. I can't get myself together. I'm not good enough for myself, and that's not true. It's like it's one thing to clean and cook. It's a whole nother thing to try to clean and cook when you're dealing with trauma, depression, work, school, kids, relationships, and everything else in between. Yes. And
everything, like you said, the whole load that we carry. And you can only use the term, and this is just a lesson for you guys, you can only use the excuse the house so many times before people are like, she just tried to clean up, she's crazy. Yeah. You can only use that term, and I'm telling you from experience, and I learned that about myself. This past year, after finalizing my divorce, going through everything that I was going through, being a mommy at 5, and I talk a little bit about it. Never thought when God gave me an idea to write a book about lemons, I would live out the lemons. So I was in that space, like you said, when I would come home, I'm like, I'll clean tomorrow. And it was easier to go to bed. And I'm like, I'll do the dishes later. I'll pick up the trash. And that if your space is not clear, if your space is cluttered, your mind, your heart, your motives, everything will be cluttered, like you said. I want to move on to our next question. What need did you see within the community that caused you to create the space? You talked about your personal need, but what need did you see in the community that caused you to create it?
Just effective support when people are dealing with trauma and depression and mental health issues, right? Again, like coming from a space where like I've been a counselor, I've been a life skills specialist, I've done all of these things and in these spaces, and there's just no space, no support, no understanding for people who, especially Black people, who are experiencing mental health issues that are either genetic or it's caused from situations, from being traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you don't have that support, it turns into other things, right? Like when we have to deal with our trauma and it's not validated, there's no intervention, there's no anything, it turns into other things. And sometimes that turns into violence toward other people, sometimes it turns to violence toward ourselves, destruction, like all of these things, right? Like, and we live in these communities that aren't really communities. We just like live in proximity to each other, right? Like we don't trust each other, like we don't trust ourselves, like we harm each other, we harm our kids, we harm anyone in our space and don't even realize that we're doing it so often of the time. And don't realize how much having clutter on the floor is triggering, like not being able to see where your feet are going is triggering, not being able to get into things is triggering. Not eating proper food, like not having access to proper food, but that's a whole nother.
I was going to say that's a good one right there.
A whole nother space,
yes.
Right? Like, but if you're depressed and dealing with things, or like have too much on your plate, don't have the proper support, and so like you and the kids end up eating junk food every day, eating pizza every day, going to the corner store, going to the dollar store, like, and that's mealtime.
Mm-hmm.
Like that plays on your body, your mind, your spirit, and everything else. Like, and eventually you slow down. Like, and there's no other way but to be depressed, but to be like in a negative, constant negative space. So, as far as like where I see in the instance that we are a traumatized population, like, and we've been for generation to generation, and I feel like we are in a space where we're starting to unwind that and starting to understand and unpack that and giving language to those spaces. We are far from being done with it because there is a lot to unpack, but we're at least in the spaces. I would say that we have a privilege that our parents did not have, is that we have language for our trauma and our experiences, our mental health that they did not have access to or were not allowed to have access to.
Yeah. So the resources I would agree are greater than back then. And again, with our upbringing, with it being the church. I know from my background, again, being labeled as they'll be okay. Just putting that in the box, and again, not identifying what we're properly dealing with. People for a long time after having a baby she's just silly in the head. But we didn't call it postpartum depression.
My goodness.
And when I had I think it was my 5-year-old, I dealt with that. I dealt with postpartum depression. And I didn't know what postpartum depression was. I just knew I was sad that I wasn't able to bring my baby home from the NICU. But it wasn't until, again, I reached out. I gave a voice to the emotions that I was feeling, and I was able to get properly diagnosed, that I was able to get healing. But I love the fact also that you said within the community not having the resources that we need, because with you doing the work of helping those that are, on welfare get off and, become self-sufficient, that's amazing. Because so many times, I know a lot of my, personal clients that I've dealt with in the past, did not have that, the money for buying groceries, just something so small.
Yeah.
Our bodies are the most important investment. If we don't have the food, like you said, if we don't have the natural needs, we're not going to thrive.
Right.
We're not going to be okay. And that's the most important thing about self-care, yourself.
Yeah.
So, what are some tips you would give someone struggling to engage in self-care?
Well, for one, I would say define what that means for you, because that does mean different things for everybody. But defining what that means for you, figuring out what do you have access to now, what do you not. There's this common conversation that comes up that everybody goes through something, but you can get yourself out of it. And it's like, well, people who can get themselves out of really, really bad situations tend to have a level of support that other people do not. And a person who does not have this proper support to get themselves out of similar situations or worse may succumb to really, really bad things. So figuring out what is your support. First of all, what do you need self-care for? What's the problem?
Yeah.
All of the problems.
All of the problems. List them all. She's saying list them all. There's a list. So list them all. Be honest.
All of them. Be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then figuring out what does it mean to practice self-care for yourself.
Okay.
What supports do you need? So like I said, I needed support with my home. I did not have support in my home. It did not exist. And so I sought that out. figuring out what those things are, and then and creating a plan to how to get to those things. So if you need these support systems, if it's body support stuff, it's people that you need, like certain people, like friends, family, therapists, doctors, like do they exist, do they not exist, and if they do not exist, why don't they exist? Are they accessible, or is that a space that needs to be worked through too as well? You know, like is that a space, if it's like a family thing, because that's a different type of self-care. Yeah, and then going from there, honestly, and
Yeah, she said a word that we don't like, and it starts with H, and it's honesty. Being honest with yourself. And nobody else is going to be able to, even when you do go to those coaches and therapists, doctors, whatever you choose to, whatever method you choose to go to, nobody's going to be able to help you if you're not being honest. If you're not saying, hey, 7 days in a week, 5 days I don't get out of bed. If you're saying, oh no, I get up every day. Oh no, the house is big and spin. Oh no, the kids are great. They're not going to think anything's wrong. So we have to be honest, not only with ourselves, but those trained professionals that are going to help us. So we have our 3 points that we want to discuss, and you guys can feel free to chime in. Thanks to everyone that's watching. Number 1 is the connection between space and body and mind. So would you elaborate on that?
yes. So like our space is definitely a reflection of like our internal selves. Our external selves would be like wherever like our personal space is. So that's our home. That can be our offices. That can be our lockers. Wherever like it's our space, uniquely ours. That's our space. And so again, like whatever was going on inside tends to have its reflection outside, one way or the other, and vice versa. And so for myself, I'll say, speaking for myself, I know that I'm getting into a space where I'll start being depressed. The first thing that'll go is I will wash the dishes. The dishes will not be washed, and it'll be one day. Now, one day is fine. That's normal. Like I can pick that back up. But if it gets 1 day, then 2 days. 2 days is like you need to fix this. And what that triggers for me is that I need to switch to paper and plastic, because the reality is I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then figuring out like what meal planning and what meal prepping looks like for me, because again, like I can't get into this space. So cooking a whole meal is just a space. Like I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to eat out a lot, or I'm going to eat whatever I can like grab
Quickly.
Which is usually not something that's good for you. So figuring out those spaces, understanding like again like our relation to the floor beneath our feet, the relation to like countertops, tabletops is really important, because when we cannot see, when it's cluttered, like it tends to cause it tends to trigger us and cause stress and anxiety and such. So just the connection between the two is that like what your space looks like, what you feel, and how the way that you engage with your space tends to be like how you feel, look, and engage with your internal self.
So being aware of your surroundings. So those are the indicators that we should look for. So when things start to go awry, something's wrong. You hear that? So write that tip down. Looking at your space, being one with your space. When things start to go crazy, dishes piling up, clothes piling up, shoes, things like that, we know that something is wrong. Number 2 bullet point, and these are for the people that are taking notes. I love notes. Number 2, orientation. The importance of space being created in such a way that it does not cause triggers or mental blocks.
So a lot of people who contact me, they're contacting me for the organization side, organization and decluttering. And what I always say is that it's not one way for everybody, because certain solutions do not work for everybody. I'm a person that I need to see things, and so when I first got into my mode, I'm gonna organize everything, and I'm gonna get these receipts together, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and I bought those accordion binders, and I think it was receipts I put in them. I don't know. Because I put whatever I put in it and closed it, and that was the last time I even touched it and engaged with it. I have it now, and I use it for my workshops, and I still have yet to open that thing.
Okay.
It doesn't work for me. It does not work for me at all. But what does work for me is I have these translucent bins that I put all my important paperwork in. So like my lesson plans for the kids that I work with, my documents for my businesses, like my receipts, like I put those in there, and I engage with those all of the time. I know where they are. I know how to engage with them. I know what is in what space, and that's what works for me. So it's very important that we can do all of these things, spend all this money on storage,
fun stuff.
Yeah, organizational things, and it not work at all. So shelves that are just too high. It's like now you just have things that you're never going to touch again.
Yeah, you're just looking at them. Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
And I love that it's a case-specific approach. You wouldn't give me the same treatment that you would give somebody else. And that's needed, because we're all wired differently. You know, what gets you doesn't get me. What bothers you doesn't bother me. You know, I'm like, okay, dishes are going to be there because I got 5 kids. But I am that after the second day person, like, no sis, let me just go ahead and bust these out. Just go and bust these out. But again, knowing those, like you said, those triggers, and knowing how best you work. So that, I think that's a good point. And this is number 3, and we really want to spend some time on this one. The importance of the word no. So in self-care, how important is the word no?
In life. No is just important, you know, like, and it's a muscle that a lot of us have to build up, right? Like, including myself. And so, being able to say no, and with regards to saying yes is going to harm me. You know, saying yes is going to make something in my life worse. And that's not always easy, because sometimes, like, saying no means someone else is going to have to struggle. But being able to, you know, acknowledge and understand that that's not my responsibility. Like, I can be here for as much as I can give you. And we know that, right? Like, and these are things that we say rhetorically, but it's easy to say. It's not easy to practice.
Yes.
You know, especially when it comes down to people that we love, or projects that we love and that we're passionate about. And we'll dedicate ourselves, and this is me talking to me. We'll dedicate ourselves.
This is me speaking to myself. I'm preaching to myself.
To all of the things, right? Because it's like, if I don't do it, and this thought, this mythical thought that if I don't do it, it won't get done, or if I don't do it, this person's going to suffer, or this thing is going to suffer. And the reality is that the world spins if we stand still. So being able to say no, like, not only as just to give yourself a buffer and comfort, but sometimes it comes down to, like, your actual health and your actual safety. And again, like, if we're talking about self-care, things build up over time. Like, the things that I was dealing with work and everything else, that built up over time.
Definitely.
And so when we're taking all of these things on and realizing we don't have anything left to give out, and now I'm depressed, and now I don't have, like, any sort of, like, structure in my life, and everything is in chaos, and I don't know why. And it's like everything that's in my space ain't even mine. You know, so, no.
Like, no. That's one of my favorite words, actually. They always say, you know, you've heard the saying before, you can't pour from an empty glass, and take care of yourself first. And in an accident on an airplane, you know, put on your own mask. We hear all of these things, but we don't always apply them. And then when you hear self-care, I know everybody's on this kick now, and that's why I wanted it to be the first show of 2019, self-care, because of the fact that everybody's like, oh, I'm doing self-care. You know, we think of it as a trip to the spa. We think of it as a massage. We think of it as only a pedicure or manicure. But would you give other forms of self-care that we might not always think of? Or some other ways we can engage and indulge in self-care this year?
Decluttering is self-care. Working out tough relationships is definitely self-care. Working on trauma.
Say that again to those in the back.
Working on trauma is definitely self-care.
Okay.
And I don't shade anybody. If you want to go to the spa or whatever you want to do, like, that's your space. You know, if you need time to woosah, get everybody step off you, perfectly fine. But again, like, if our goal is to be better, then what is keeping us here? Like, what's our dysfunction? And again, if you're black, you're probably traumatized. Matter of fact, I'll say if you're black, you are traumatized.
Yes.
Because we're generationally traumatized. And so, like, working out those things that cause those cyclical rifts in our lives, those broken relationships with other people, those stop gaps that we always tend to run into. Like, what is going on, and how do I fix this? Like, how do I get past this part of my life? You know, so if I would say anything as far as self-care, I mean, and also, like, you know, the usual, like, getting your credit and your finances together and stabilized, figuring out what does that mean? Like, making sure that your house is managed in a way where it's cohesive and in accord with each other. But my number one would be dealing with trauma, like dealing with mental health, dealing with, and not just yours, but everybody else's too. So yours, everybody else in your household, and I'd go even further to say everyone else in the community, or whatever that looks like. I think it's important that we're accountable to each other and for each other. Again, like, when a person does not have support, it's not easy to do well and to crawl out of a space where you're harmed, you know. When a person is, say, in an existence of a community, you know, and they're harmed, and everybody knows that they're harmed, and they know that everybody knows that they're harmed, and nobody intervenes, and nobody stops that they're, you know, being targeted or being hurt in some sort of way, being violated in some sort of way, they're going to seek their own safety, because that's natural. We're going to seek our own safety.
Definitely.
And if we do not have if we don't have the support to lift us up, we don't have other people like kind of building up that safety around us, we'll do it on our own. And a lot of times that turns into like negative things. It turns into violence. It turns into self-harm, harm to other people, harm in different ways, and in ways we might not always understand. So yeah, dealing with that internal space.
I think that those are all good points. And I want to go, and this is just something for me personally, you know, having all these experts and wonderful people on my show, I try to get as much as I can. But for those that are empaths, and I just posted something on my wall earlier about how, you know, I have to check on me. It's time, you know, wanting to help everyone, wanting to save everyone. What advice would you give to those that consider themselves to be empaths?
Can you explain to me what that means? I know what it means, but
So for those of us, so for me, I feel your pain, and I take on your pain. So if you're sad today, if you come to work and you're sad, I'm the friend that's like, oh my God, Shannon's sad, let me fix it, let me help, let me do, let me make sure she's happy. And I might have craziness going on in my home, and in my mind, and in my life. I want to read the post actually, because the post I think will tie it into what we're discussing. Give me one moment so I can pull it up, because I posted on my private page, might have been like at 3-something this morning, and I was going through my my iPad trying to clear up a few things. And this picture, I saved this picture a while ago because I'm, you know, talking to myself again. And it says, a letter from an empath. And it says, while I love to help others, I'm not responsible for fixing your life, catering to your toxicity. I'm not responsible for managing your triggers, walking on eggshells, or telling you what you want to hear in order to keep peace. I am not your emotional punching bag, nor your emotional sponge. I do not exist for your pleasure or as a site for your projected pain. And this part really just stuck out to me last night. It says, my responsibility is to myself, to be my own person, to stay true to myself, to heal my own wounds, manage my triggers, engage in self-care so that I can give to others authentically without depleting myself in the process. My responsibility is to maintain healthy boundaries, especially with those that are unhealthy. And this is from Shahida Arabi. And Amber, could you give me a tissue, please? That like really stuck out to me because I'm like, oh my God, for years I've taken on hurt, pain, you know, problems, issues. So what could one do to make sure that they're kind of helping still? Because it's important that we help each other. I do believe that, you know, we're helpers one to another. That's what the Bible teaches us. And we're helpers in our community. I can't see these babies out here hurting and not help. But what advice would you give to one that's constantly, you know, helping? Our therapists, our teachers, our social workers. What advice would you give to those that have that even profession of having to help? How could we engage in self-care and be protected?
So, short story.
Thank you.
So, you know, our girl Shanon, her,
my cousin. Hi, Shanon.
she had, she had a retreat last year that I attended last minute.
Okay.
And it was in New York. And there was several, like, really, really beautifully spirited women. And I'm telling you, I'm not that comfortable around a lot of women. I never have been. I have brothers, it's the thing.
No, I have brothers too. And I'm older sister, but yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
That's a space. But, you know, like, gorgeous women inside and out. And so we were there. We were talking about, like, a lot of things. Like, just unpacking and uncovering a lot of things. And this woman, Miss Tracy Johnson, who's also
Tracy.
Oh my God.
Shout out to Tracy.
Tracy is amazing, and she is my spirit guide, and I don't know if she knows it. Like, that's my guardian angel. We were talking about, I forget how we got on the subject, but we got on the subject of who we are. And, you know, it's like, I'm the protector, I'm the healer, I'm the fixer. And Tracy says, you know, like, we take on these titles as if this is who we are in our God-given space. But it's not. It's who we have to be. And
wow.
as far as being a fixer, like we've been fixers all of our lives, but not because we wanted to be, not because it was put in our spirit to be, because we had to be, because nobody else stood up and did it.
Wow.
And so we kind of got in the mode, especially being Black women, because everyone looks at us.
Everybody, and we're the mother of all.
From birth, like,
yes.
As a child, you're the mother of all. You know, and so we have these responsibilities already on us, and we kind of grow into this identity of this is who I am. And so what I would say is, as far as how do we protect our space as empaths, as professionals, is knowing the line that draws, maintaining our boundaries, but knowing when are we helping, like when is it help for other people, and then when is it tied to something else that's going on with us. And so like what is our need to fix and help, is that tied to our trauma? Like, is it tied to our experiences and our identity of like, I have to do this because this is going to happen to me if I don't, like, or I'm going to be viewed this way if I don't do it, you know?
So hashtag check your motives, people. Check your motive. Oh my goodness, yeah, that's deep. I didn't think about it like that, you know. And sometimes I think when we do try to help, at least in my case, I'm gonna speak for myself. Sometimes where I thought, oh my gosh, I'm helping. God, I messed up even more. I messed it up even more. Like, oh my gosh, like I should just stayed out of it.
Right there.
Yes. Come on.
There.
Just come on.
Because you said that, you know, like we try to do things and it doesn't work out. Like, and I think we've gotten into a space where we're not okay with saying that we've done something wrong, that I've hurt somebody, that I've, even if it was intentional or unintentional, I stepped on your foot, you know, like for someone to either say or express that you stepped on my foot, instead of us being like, oh, I'm sorry, or fixing, or like rebuilding that relationship, or seeing where it fell apart. We have a tendency to jump into like, what? Like, I didn't do anything to you, or like, well, I didn't mean it.
I didn't see your foot there. I didn't mean to. Get over it.
But at the end of the day, this person's hurt. They are absolutely hurt by it, you know. And that hurt is there, and that hurt is real. And again, like when it doesn't get worked out, it can turn into other things.
It's a problem.
You know,
it's a problem.
And other people's pain is our pain. Like if someone else in my community is hurt, I'm going to be hurt, you know, because very well, like, and not even in the philosophical space, but in a very tangible space. Again, like if a person is hurt and harmed and they do not have the proper support and protection, that hurt and harm can very well turn right back around and hit you.
And it's a cycle. I think it's a ripple effect. It's a domino effect. I was reading this book, and we've all heard the saying, I'm sure, hurt people hurt people. You know, so that pain that might have been a seed planted when they were younger has now blossomed as they're an adult. And we have a lot of hurt adults. We have a lot of hurt men. We have a lot of hurt women. And it's an upcoming show that we'll be discussing, you know, unfortunately, you know, the sexual hurt that we've endured within the community, the emotional hurt. One of my friends posted, I think it was a couple friends that posted yesterday, did you know you were loved growing up? That's a hurt. You know, all of these different spaces to unpack. What would happen if we took the time? Maybe like, you know, a week or a weekend of seriously bringing the tissues out and having a self-care moment and unpacking these things that we don't talk about.
Right, in an honest way. And it's such a volatile space because there's a lot of pain there, right? Like, and when we talk about things like sexual violence or violence of any kind, people are hurt on either side. And sometimes we don't recognize, but again, we don't recognize when someone else is hurt. And that can be a space even. And, you know, with the R. Kelly thing, the documentary that came out, and the sexual violence that's been uncovered in Pittsburgh as of late, a lot of things have been coming up about, like men and boys who try to say, like, look, this is my experience too. Being shut down, being targeted, being ostracized, being told that no, like, it's not the same thing. And not to say that it doesn't occur differently, but, like, sexual violence is not gender.
It's not.
People are harmed and hurt, and again, when we don't take the time to support each other and love each other and intervene when someone is hurt, like that hurt can turn to hurt for other people or towards themselves. You know, so yeah, there's a responsibility on us all to take care of us all. Otherwise, the things we're dealing with are the things that we didn't deal with before.
Definitely. Then they say whatever you don't, you know, deal with. If you don't deal with history, you're doomed to repeat it. So the history of our ancestors, the pain that we've, you know, dealt with. The piece for me, you know, self-care became very apparent to me even when protesting. I was only able to attend, I think, 4 or 5 of the protests before I was just like, I need to walk away because it got to be too much. And not only was I feeling the hurt and pain of my brothers and my sisters, but I started, feeling, different things, and things were, brought up from, childhood, and things were brought up from, current relationships. And I said, you know what? For me, I need to step away. I need to support, still support financially, send donations, but I needed to step away physically, but recognizing that, knowing when to step away, that's another form of self-care. Again, thank you to everyone that's watching. Please feel free to chime in today. We're talking about self-care. And we're just talking about some ways that we can definitely take care of ourselves 2019 and the years to come. I don't want to just limit it to 1 year because everybody gets the resolutions and the new year, new me. No, it's an old you. It's still you. It's you from last year. But I want us to really, again, start talking about these things in an honest space. Self-care, I would even say, goes with self-inventory. When I sat down this past year, I apologized to everyone that I thought I offended. But I had to sit down and I had to really take self-inventory. Like, sis, you was wrong. Sis, you were hurting people because you were hurt because of this divorce. You was hurt because your coins was tapped into. You was hurt because you had to tap into your, be honest. You have to be honest. And we're not doing anybody, any justice. We're not helping anyone. Especially even in the church, helping anyone where we're not being honest. I can wear as much makeup as I want, but if we don't remove the mask that we wear daily, who are we going to help? Who are we going to help? I want to move on to our final questions. I'm excited. I can keep her here all day talking. But who inspires you?
My mother, absolutely. My mom has the biggest spirit. She's dealt with so much in life, but and I don't want to attach her pain with her spirit. Her spirit is something totally different, but I do recognize that this is a woman who has lived 50 plus years on this earth and dealt with the worst things you could possibly deal with. And you'd never know it. You would never know by the way she smiles, like the way she talks. Like my mother has a sustained disability from being injured at work, and I forget all of the time that she does because of how she is, like who she is as a person. So she's such a big loving heart that she's the reason why I push through to love people. Like I don't even have to deal with you now.
I love you. That don't mean. I get it.
Yeah, but in loving in an active way too. Like not I love this person, but like I'm shutting them off completely. I love plenty of people that they don't see me ever, but they don't know how much I support them and I guide and make sure that they're okay.
Definitely.
Because that's what's safe for the both of us. That's what's safe for me, but also like I love this person. I'm not gonna not love this person. And so like I definitely get my love and my compassion from my mom. In the will to do what's right, like even if it's unpopular, even if it means that I'm gonna have to deal with some things, like because I'm standing up for somebody else. My mom, definitely. My mom and my best friend Tia. Tia McCrae, that is my boo. Like this woman, her integrity is everything. Like when I say this woman's integrity is everything, and like very much so. Like if it is right, it is right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Like and no matter like what side of it she's on, like. She's going to own up and be honest about that. And she's been that way since we were very young kids. Wow. I've known this woman since we were in middle school. And yeah, she's very much that. So like if she's done wrong, like she owns it, she verbalizes it, she named it for herself, named it for other people. Like if she moves to fix it, if someone wronged her or someone else, like she names that. Wow. She's very much, no, this is wrong. So I get that from Tia. Those two, I would say. And I would say there's an experience that doesn't, I wouldn't say inspire, like that's definitely not the right word, but it's something that I carry everywhere. And so when I was 17, I believe it was 16, 17, high school, there was, Northside, everybody knows everybody, but me and this girl, we fell out because our friends fell out, so it is what it is.
Listen, that's the story of my life.
And so we fell out, so because we fell out, our families fell out. So I had to talk to you, not your brothers, not your nobody. And that was it. It was fine, like it was no problems, it was just a recognition that we don't rock like that. But she had a younger brother. And
all right.
I lived in Spring Hill at the time, so I had to go downtown to get home.
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up on Brighton Heights, so I'd go there. And one day I was downtown hitting home. It was a Sunday, and I saw her brother. And my usual thing, like, is we don't speak, you know, we just keep moving. And that's been all of our thing, like, you know. But this time, he looked at me, and it was like refuge. It was like excitement, and I could not make sense of it. And I kept moving, like I kept going. This is what a social contract is.
This is what happens.
Like, this is how we are. This is where we are. So, you know, I looked and I kept going, and that was Sunday, and then the following Monday, he took his life.
Now you're gonna make me cry because you know I've dealt with suicide this past year. Oh my God.
Now, I was a child myself.
I understand.
As an adult, I would not keep walking in that space. But as a child, like, I didn't know that was an indication that something was wrong. But I did know that was odd. And I had half a mind to stop and speak to him, say what's up, and I didn't. And so, that experience I take with me, because I would never walk past somebody and not stop. I would never, knowing that somebody is hurt, and do nothing. I'd never ever do that. And again, I don't care like what that means for me. People can hate me for life. Child, like, if people do hate me for life, but you can hate me for life, this person's gonna be alive. Like, you know, their quality of life is going to be what it should be. I'm not gonna let anybody be hurt and harmed, and I think about that child all of the time.
And I think that's important. I can definitely identify with you when it comes to suicide, and it's been no secret. The past, I think it was a year, 4 people in 1 year, and my mom gets on me all the time because she's like, "You always talk to strangers." I say hi to everybody, and Sunny now is saying hi to everybody because of the fact that I'm like, a stranger is just a friend you ain't met. And just a quick story, I go around Highland Park and I walk around the reservoir. And so when I'm walking, each time I might pass the same person 20 sometimes, it's always that nod, like, good, you're getting it in. This one guy, black gentleman, he's a little older, and I said, "Good morning." He said nothing. Okay. So I just kept walking. And so after my second time around, I sat down on one of the benches, and he came walking around. And everybody else saying, "Good morning," you know, you're giving a nod or giving a wave. And he came back. He said, he started walking past. He turned around and walked back. I said, "Oh Lord, what's, about to pop off?" Oh Jesus. And he said, "I need to apologize to you." And I said, "You don't let me an apology." "No, you said good morning. That's not common." He said, "I need to apologize to you." And even in just that moment, I said, "I forgive you." He said, "And you have a blessed day." And he walked on. But to know that, like you said, there are people hurting. I never want to be the cause of anybody's hurt. I never want to be the cause of anybody's pain. I think that I tell people, especially, within my circle, I love you. I say, I always love you much when I hang up, or, love you before I hang up. Because you never know when it's going to be the last time. You never know. Yeah. And it's important, even in self-care, to be the best. That's a piece too. Self-care, being the best person you can be, to somebody else. You have to. And having that peace with yourself will help you be able to acknowledge somebody else's presence. Yeah. So I do thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I do.
Okay. Need to be seen. And validated, and our experience is validated. And a good friend of mine had said, we were talking about all of the things, and she said, when our existence isn't validated, we smash up against our physicality to prove that we're alive. And that's so real. And we see that in so many different ways, be it someone acting out, be it someone isolating themselves, be it being very, very looking for attention seeking, as
definitely.
Call it.
Yeah.
All of those ways that just to validate that I'm here,
see me, hello, bad behavior is bad behavior. Even if we look on social media, and it took a lot. We have some comments, Amber Sloan, shout out to Amber. She said, you never know. Michelle Walker said, thank you for speaking your truth. Social media has become, I don't know the word I want to use, but there were many times, and you see those little memes and those little videos where people start the conversation and then you see them backspace, that was me during my divorce. Could I pull cards? Could I speak truth? And I was like, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say, and I said, let me pull back. Let me deactivate my page. Let me change my Facebook page, because on the other Facebook page there was so many memories and so many things. Those memories on Facebook that come up can be harmful.
Oh my goodness.
Girl. Can I say that?
Girl.
I don't share all those memories that come up, a year ago. Because a year ago, and where Latia is now, but social media has become the blasting point for everything. And it lets you, when you read these posts, sometimes I just read posts and I pray, because you can tell a person's hurt by what they post. You tell a person's going through it by what they post. I wouldn't go so far as to say diagnose somebody from what they post, but you can definitely tell something's going on. Reach out. My one friend that committed suicide, he was posting. And then I went back, and that's another reason why I changed my page, because I was dwelling, on certain people's pages. And I went back and I was just reading, like, had I read more? Had I, things like that.
I think that social media isn't, like, still a community, isn't still real life. It's like, it's just social media. It's like, no, these are people. Like, these are androids, these are computers, these are other people who are experiencing it.
People are hurting. People are going through. And again, I get my nails done. I love getting my nails done. I love going, my cousin got my hair growing, going to get my hair done. Those few things that I do for my me time. But as far as self-care, sometimes it is unplugging. I love social media for the point of it being it's a great marketing tool. But when you really start as a social worker, as a, therapist, life coach, whatever you are, and you read these posts, it's like,
I wonder though, that, is it unplugging, there's space for that as well, but I wonder if, like, to tell, for a person that is going through something and they're attempting to be seen, to be validated, to be heard, and supported, and they're posting, like it's very thematic or whatever it is, for that person to unplug, like, if that's their only way to connect with other people, like, then that might be a lifeline. Social media is a space, right? Like, so, like, it's really, really great in a lot of ways, right? Like, it has its faults too, like, it has, like,
with everything,
as well, right? Like, but again, like, it's a community, it's people, like, and to say that something only happens in this space, like, that might be true for some things, but at the end of the day, there are people attached to those things, and so, like, when people are posting a lot, like, I would say, like, personally, like, in my personal field, because when people get to posting and it seems like something is wrong, I hit them up. I might talk about that page. I'm at everybody's house, like, and I'm at your house. If you say something that's a little off, if you say something that's off, and we ain't got to be that close, like, but again, like,
but because of the care, the care that you have for somebody, because I've seen a few posts where I'm like, let me go ahead and message, because you recognize those things, the wording. I think everybody has, like, their language. You know who's going to post scriptures. You know who's going to post the funny memes. You know who's going to... And then life gets to you sometimes, and it's just like, let me post this now. And they're urging, in a sense. And those are the things that I look for. And it's like, let me check in.
Right.
Let me check in. And that has led to, my horse off-key singing of, you got a friend, and, other little videos, and... Somebody posted the other day, and you would have no idea, again, what people are going through.
Yeah.
Because we see it as a different world. And there are no rules by which to live on social media. But we definitely, I think it just goes back to what you said. We have to check in. There's another scripture. I think I mentioned it before. We are helpers one to another. If your sister's hurting, you're hurting. If your brother's hurting, you're hurting. And it's not just about, well, that's their problem. They shouldn't have. I had so many people turn their back on you know, the fact that I was getting a divorce. Because it's like, fight through it. And I'm like, you have no idea.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
And to not have, again, that support. People don't have support. I said even over the holidays, if you didn't even celebrate the holiday, I said pull up a table and chair. Pull up a plate. How much does it cost you to pull up a plate for somebody else? Set an extra, you know, plate on the table. Just those small things.
Yeah.
You know, and it not only will bless somebody else, but you'll feel better within yourself, knowing that, thank God I was able to help. You know, and it's not for boasting rights. Let's say that too.
Right.
It's not for yeah.
Yeah.
I'm setting a plate for John. John is alone. No, that's not what it's for.
Right.
But just know that you're being a good person.
Yeah.
I've always was that kid growing up. Like I didn't want nobody hurt. I didn't want nobody in pain. I didn't want nobody to cry. If I saw you cry, I'm like, okay, let me help you. What do you need? My toy? Take my, you know. But even as an adult, we have to reach back. Have to reach back. Want to definitely continue this conversation, but how could people reach you to have a decluttering session of their life, of their home, of their space, and to unpack those things that they're holding on to?
Well, you can email us at peacelives@selfcarehousekeeping.com or call or text capable 412-589-1377. Yeah, or see me on the streets because I work with babies.
Well, see me on the streets. She said I'm out here in these streets. And then also she has a Facebook page. She's doing so much within the community. Definitely show your support. Say hello when you're outside and see her. And we're going to put all of the information in the links in the comments so you have them for your future reference. We didn't mean to get teary-eyed on you, but this is just some real talk that's definitely needed. Again, I'm just so happy and honored that you were a part of Abundant Living Talk Show for today, and hopefully we'll be stranger. You'll come back and let us know the amazing things that you're doing in the community and just what you're doing in the community. And many blessings. So definitely connect again with Shanon Williams. We will be discussing more of how to take care of yourself on our next show. Our guest will be Alicia Hall, and we are talking all things green smoothie and detox. We're going to get your total body in order. I promise you before 2019 is out, your mind, body, and spirit will be well. And if someone asks you how you're living and you don't say abundantly, that's a problem. Until next time, see you later. Tia S. Brock and Shanon Williams.